Right, ladies and gentlemen, I believe we are live. Welcome back to the show. Happy Saturday afternoon, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, we have quite a lot to talk about. We really do have some breaking news today. So, folks, before we really get into this, please make sure to subscribe to the channel. Please make sure to like today's video. We are live on Rumble. We are live on YouTube. So subscribe over here, subscribe over there, like everywhere. But, ladies and gentlemen, today, just a couple hours ago, in fact, we just got an absolutely massive update relating to the ongoing investigation into the ObamaGate scandal, in which it is alleged, it seems to be the case, but we have to say it is alleged, that Obama and senior ranking members of his intelligence community in the second half of 2016 fabricated the Donald Trump-Russia collusion hoax. It was all a fake narrative. So today, we're going to break through that report. Tulsi Gabbard has just given us some more information. But also today, we are going to do something a little bit different, something a little bit special. We are also going to be taking a little bit of a deeper dive into one of ObamaGate's key players. He's a guy whose name is James Clapper. I think everyone here is familiar with him, but maybe not familiar enough. So we're going to spend maybe 20 or 30 minutes today doing a James Clapper deep dive, because he is one of the key 4 or 5 people involved in this. And we're really going to try to get a better idea of who this guy is, where he came from. He has a very strange, very obscure political history that once we start breaking this stuff down, you're going to say, hold up, wait a minute, what the heck is going on here? So folks, today, before we get to the James Clapper stuff, I think we should just go ahead and jump into today's breaking bombshell news. Once again, everybody, thank you for tuning in. Let's get right to it. We have a breaking news report. And by the way, this is what everybody is talking about today. This is the most viral political story in the country today. Now, brand new report. CIA officials attempted to redact Tulsi Gabbard's declassification of the Russia hoax files. Would you imagine that? So Tulsi Gabbard, now it must have been 3 weeks ago or so, wanted to come out and release all of this ObamaGate Russia collusion, Russian hoax information to the American people. And that's what she did. Thank God. Now we have a lot of the information. The CIA tried to stop her from doing that. Very curious why. Let's get some more information here. The Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, the DNI, Tulsi Gabbard, overrode officials from the CIA and other intelligence agencies to release a minimally redacted version of the declassified documents that shed a bunch of light on the Obama administration's fabricated Trump-Russia collusion narrative, sources told the Washington Post this morning. President Donald Trump reportedly gave Tulsi Gabbard his blessing to publish a highly classified House Intelligence Committee report last month with the support of CIA Director John Ratcliffe and U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi, while sources said that other members of the intelligence community warned that a greater portion of the files should be redacted. They said, listen, the American people cannot know about this. We cannot tell them. Tulsi Gabbard, with Trump's blessing, said, listen, we got to tell them. Tulsi said the 46-page House Intelligence report revealed additional details about the most, quote, most egregious weaponization of politicization of intelligence in American history. It's one of the most egregious instances of this. We're going to talk about some other egregious instances of politicization of intelligence also today. Just stand by for that. She said this days after she released the classified communications from top officials in the Obama administration, laying the groundwork for what became the years-long Trump-Russia probe. Tulsi Gabbard said at the time, a couple weeks ago, per President Trump's directive, I have declassified a House Intelligence Oversight Majority Staff report that exposes, and it did, it completely exposed how the Obama administration manufactured the January 2017 intelligence community assessment that they knew it was false, promoting the lie that Vladimir Putin and the Russian government helped President Trump win the 2016 election. Talk about a complete and total subversion of American democracy. That is what this is. In doing so, They conspired to subvert, yeah, that's the proper word. They conspired to subvert the will of the American people, working with their partners in the media to promote the lie in order to undermine the legitimacy of President Trump, essentially enacting a years-long coup against him. By the way, I love to drop this number because it really highlights just how serious this situation is and was and continues to be. This is a recent poll that I saw come out about a month ago. 64% of registered Democrat voters believe to this day in 2025 that President Trump worked with the Russians in 2016. So I have to begrudgingly say this. We need to admit this. This psyop, this lie that was manufactured by Obama and his intelligence community, it was highly effective. It has been hugely effective and massively consequential, which is why it is important that we set the record straight here, that we correct the record. Tulsi Gabbard highlighted not one, but 5 key findings in the report, including that former CIA Director John Brennan and others, we're going to talk about another guy, his name is James Clapper, a lot in about 20 minutes. John Brennan and others fabricated the Russia hoax, suppressed intelligence showing Putin was actually preparing for a Hillary Clinton victory. They manufactured findings from shoddy sources. This is the Steele dossier, which was bought and paid for and put together by the Democrats, by the DNC, and by the Clinton campaign. They disobeyed intelligence community standards and knowingly, deliberately lied to the American people. It's funny. They call themselves the Democrat Party. They are anything but. A source familiar with the process told the Washington Post that the CIA, quote, the CIA put forward their proposed reactions and edits to the documents, but Tulsi Gabbard, quote, has greater declassification authority than all of the other intelligence elements and is not required to get their approval to release. So this is very important. I want everybody to understand this. 3 weeks ago, when Tulsi Gabbard was looking to release all this information regarding the ObamaGate scandal, the hoax, all of this, she had members in the CIA intelligence community came to her and said, listen, Tulsi Gabbard, you can't release this stuff. You cannot do this, Tulsi Gabbard. It's going to cause massive problems. Tulsi Gabbard said, listen, hey, I'm the director of national intelligence. If I want to release this stuff, I don't need your permission. I'm going to do it anyway. And then she did. They were begging her. In the CIA, they were begging her to not release this stuff. She said, listen, I don't need your approval. I'm the freaking DNI. I do what I want. Okay, so President Trump himself approved the version with, quote, minimal reactions and no edits, the individual noted. A CIA spokesperson said Ratcliffe, this is President Trump's new director of the CIA. So he's only been in control of the CIA for the last couple months. So a CIA spokesperson said the new CIA director Ratcliffe, quote, strongly supports the release of the report despite other members in the CIA being against publishing this entire thing, though it is unclear what exactly they wanted to remain secret. Senator Mark Warner, a Democrat from Virginia, the Democrats' ranking member of the Senate Intelligence Committee, called the declassification a, quote, desperate and irresponsible move in a statement to the outlet. So this is, just to be very clear here, folks, Tulsi Gabbard has just uncovered, she has released to the American people information pertaining to how Barack Obama and his senior ranking intelligence officials created a false foreign Russian collusion hoax to undermine the legitimacy of President Trump's first term. And the Democrats are saying it's desperate and irresponsible to talk about this. Give me a freaking break. Give me a freaking break. He said, the desperate and irresponsible release of the partisan House intelligence report puts at risk some of the most sensitive sources and methods our intelligence community uses to spy on Russia and keep Americans safe. And in doing so, Tulsi Gabbard, Director Gabbard, is sending a chilling message to our allies and assets around the world. The United States can no longer be trusted to protect the intelligence that you share with us. This is just such a joke. I don't even listen. It's like when you say stuff like this, what's his name? Senator Mark Warner, the senior ranking Democrat on the Senate Intelligence Community. How dumb do you think we are? How dumb do you think the American people are? How little respect do you have for your own electorate? Okay. Former President Barack Obama led a, quote, treasonous conspiracy against President Trump. This is what Tulsi Gabbard said. Treasonous conspiracy. Folks, yes or no, both on Rumble and YouTube. Was this a treasonous conspiracy? Yes. I think we all agree yes. House Speaker Mike Johnson, Republican from Louisiana, said Congress may subpoena Obama for allegedly colluding with intelligence agencies to tie Trump to Russia during the 2016 election, saying, quote, I think we have a responsibility to follow the truth wherever it leads. Absolutely. In this case, yes, we absolutely do. President Trump said he's guilty. But first, you know who else said something crazy? It was Q. It was the Q, the Storm, in the chat, and he said, enjoy the show, Matt. May it help in your moving. We're moving to Idaho here in the next couple weeks. I've been spending all day packing out in the garage. Thank you very much. He says, good luck with the move. Hopefully this can help out, from Ricky Wally, aka Q. Thank you very much. Massive super chat. I appreciate that a lot. Thank you very much. Hope everybody's having a good Saturday. Thank you. Thank you very much. President Trump said he's guilty. President Trump told reporters in the Oval Office, it's not a question, you know. I like to say, let's give it time. It's there. He's guilty. This was treason. Listen, when the president of the United States, that's Trump right now, is calling you a traitor, if you commit treason, you are a traitor. That's a big deal. Okay? You don't use that word, the T word, treason. You don't use that word lightly. That's a big word. This was every word you can think of. They tried to steal the election. They tried to obfuscate the election. This is the clip of him saying that. He said, it's treason. After Bondi referred the findings to the DOJ, Pam Bondi announced the formation of a strike force tasked with investigating the hoax. That is where we are at now. There was a task force trying to break this thing down and put all the pieces together. A lot of moving parts here. Obama's office has dismissed the reports as, quote, outrageous and as bizarre. You know what's outrageous and bizarre is trying to subvert the democratic will of the American people, trying to perpetuate a coup against President Trump in early 2017. I mean, really the coup, it's not like it stopped in 2017. The coup goes on to this day. And the reason I say that is because have any of them, Brennan, Clapper, Obama, blah, blah, have any of the people involved, have they come out and said, okay, we lied. Okay, we're sorry. No, they haven't. They are still to this day trying to perpetuate the fake narrative that they manufactured in the second half of 2016. Therefore, the coup is ongoing. They are still trying to subvert the democratic will of the American people. Like I said, 64, as of a month ago, 64% of Democrat voters, registered Democrat voters, still believe in this fraudulent, concocted narrative. So now, there's something I want to show you guys. Tulsi Gabbard made an appearance on Fox News last night with Laura Ingraham, and she added a little bit of information. She said that, this is last night, she said that she has, quote, irrefutable evidence that what? That Barack Obama was the ringleader of this entire situation. Take a look at this.
Now, Director, you said there was irrefutable evidence that Obama was the mastermind of this intelligence manipulation and the perpetuation of the Russia hoax. What is that irrefutable evidence for our viewers tonight?
Yeah, Laura, as you were playing those clips of these people like Morning Joe seemingly befuddled, saying that by no account is any of this true, I would challenge them to see if they've actually read the documents, every single page of...
I'm sorry, I have to pause. Who made the Morning Joe show on MSNBC? Who made them the arbiter of truth? What? I'm sorry, pardon my language. What in the hell do they know on the Morning Joe show? They think they know more about this than Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard. Hey, Morning Joe here on the Morning Joe show on MSNBC. We really know what's going. Yeah, shut up. Spare me. I'm sorry. Anyway, I apologize.
Documents, every single page of the documents that we've released over the last couple of weeks. If not, go to odni.gov, G-O-V. It's all right there for anyone to see. And those who go in and read this will see how President Obama directed that a National Security Council meeting be called to talk about Russia, that the report that came out of that meeting was filled with tasks that were delivered by James Clapper's assistant to John Brennan and to other elements of the intelligence community. John Brennan was the head of the CIA at the time, all saying per the president's direction, per the president's order. And
that's the nail in the coffin. Everybody involved in this, Brennan, Clapper, did all of them. They were all saying, we are doing this per the direction of who? The President Barack Hussein Obama.
Per the president's order. And very specifically, they were tasked to create an intelligence assessment that detailed how Moscow tried to influence the election. Not if, but how. And this was the beginning of this manufactured intelligence assessment where they knowingly wrote things in this assessment that were false, and they knew they were false. They knew that they were basing it on discredited intelligence or documents like the Steele dossier that was politically motivated and that they knew was false. And this was how they came up with the Russia hoax that was then weaponized and used to try to delegitimize the president, President Trump, and to try to ultimately enact this years-long coup throughout his entire 4 years of his first administration.
And
still to this day, by the way, listen, let's do a little bit of a thought experiment here. Like I said, we know for a fact, still to this day, 64% of Democrats believe that Donald Trump worked with Russia to win the 2016 election. That's today in 2025. Is it possible, is it conceivable, yes or no, that this Russia collusion narrative had an impact in the 2020 election? Maybe there were people, I mean, most certainly there are people that said, I can't, it's 2020. Donald Trump is running against Joe Biden. You know, I don't want to vote for Donald Trump because I heard a rumor on CNN that he was working with the Russians. So I'm not going to vote for him, right? Most certainly this narrative has been consequential in not one, in not two, in 3 elections. This narrative was consequential in 2016. This narrative, as fake as it is, was consequential in 2020 versus Joe Biden. And of course, this narrative is still consequential to this day. It most certainly had some amount of an impact in the 2024 election versus Joe and then Kamala Harris after Joe Biden dropped out. This is, listen, like I said earlier, I hate to say it, but this narrative that they concocted in 2016, it has been highly effective. It has been highly successful at psyoping the American people. It has. It undeniably it has.
And they further say that there's like this idea of saying that Obama now.
Okay, so that's the end of that. So now, folks, this is where we get to James Clapper. We are going to dedicate a pretty substantial segment of today's broadcast to a guy. His name is James Clapper. And by the way, James Clapper, who is, there he is. There's a wonderful picture of this handsome man. Here he is, right up there. James Clapper. He was Barack Obama's Director of National Intelligence, by the way, the same job that Tulsi Gabbard has now, Director of National Intelligence. That was James Clapper during the Obama era. So I want you to take a listen to what Tulsi Gabbard, she had to say something very curious, very interesting. And by the way, I haven't seen anybody else pick up on this. So you're hearing it here first. This thing should be making waves, but it's not. Tulsi Gabbard 2 days ago had something very interesting to say about Barack Obama's Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper. Take a look at this.
James Clapper was on the team that created that manufactured intelligence assessment that led to the Iraq war, about the Iraq WMDs. He writes about it in his book, saying that he and his team of intelligence analysts created something that was not there.
Do you understand what she's saying? She's saying now she's in the seat. Now she has the job. She's the DNI. She knows that James Clapper contributed to the manufacture once again of another fake narrative, the 2003 weapons of mass destruction Iraq narrative that really was the pretense for us to invade Iraq. It was all built on this narrative of Saddam Hussein has WMDs.
When you look at his actions then, and you look at his actions in 2016 as Obama's director of national intelligence, you see someone who has no problem whatsoever politicizing and manufacturing and weaponizing intelligence for a political outcome.
Okay, now, ladies and gentlemen, this is footage from 2 days ago. I saw this and I said, no freaking way. So I wanted to do my due diligence. I spent about 4 hours earlier today, seriously, doing some background deep dive research into the very strange political history, his political career, the history of James Clapper, where he came from, what he's been doing. And so I have some notes prepared today. Like I said, we're going to do something a little bit different today. I want to give you guys a deep dive background history lesson regarding James Clapper. And I think by the end of this, you guys are going to be saying, what in the hell is going on? Okay, so let's go through this because this guy has a very, very sketchy history. From 2001 to 2006, James Clapper was the director of something called the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. He was the director of the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. It was this agency that provided satellite imagery of Iraq that James Clapper said, he's the director, he said this satellite imagery is irrefutable proof of Saddam Hussein's WMD program. So we had a bunch of satellite pictures. He gave these pictures in 2003 to the Bush administration. He said, listen, Bush admin, I have satellite imagery of Saddam Hussein's weapons of mass destruction. It was this narrative that comes from Clapper, who is the director of the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. That was the pretense for us to invade Iraq in 2003 because, oh man, Saddam Hussein has WMDs. We got to shut it down. We have to invade. We got to go do it. Now, this is where it gets even weirder. So pretty much we invaded Iraq based on information that was gathered and presented by James Clapper, false, fake, manufactured information in 2003. In 2003, after the invasion of Iraq had taken place and, surprise, no WMDs were found, as we all now know, there were no WMDs, James Clapper came out and he issued a new report. He said that he had new satellite imagery. This is in 2003, a couple months after we've invaded Iraq now. He says, listen, everybody, I have brand new satellite imagery. And this imagery confirms that before we invaded Iraq a couple months ago, Saddam Hussein's WMDs were actually relocated to Syria. So now we need to go and invade Syria. Ultimately, in 2003, we ended up not doing that. But James Clapper first manufactured a lie based on bogus satellite imagery that in Iraq, under Saddam Hussein's leadership, that he had WMDs. That ended up being a lie. And then after he got caught in the lie, we said, listen, there are no WMDs here. What the hell's going on? And he said, actually, well, that's because they moved the WMDs to Syria. Now we need to go and invade Syria. So that ended up, thank God, not being the case. But pretty much what James Clapper wanted was for us to pretty much invade the entire Middle East. That was his goal. Okay, he was shifting the goalposts. Now, as we now know, we have concrete, absolutely verifiably true post-war investigations that have confirmed that these WMD locations in James Clapper's satellite imagery actually had no relation at all whatsoever to any WMDs at all, which means that we effectively invaded Iraq for no reason because the WMDs were the pretense. And as terrible as this is, that also means that we lost around 4,500 young American combatant soldiers as a consequence of the lies and the misinformation that James Clapper created, that he manufactured. And if it was up to him, we would have lost even more young Americans because we then would have invaded Syria as well. Now, we're going to move on here. Flash forward a couple years forward. We were just in 2003. Now we're up to 2014. So everybody, flash forward to 2014. Ukraine has a president for 4 years. His name is Yanukovych. Yanukovych refused in 2014 to sign an agreement that would strengthen Ukraine's relationship with the European Union. Pay attention real quick, because all of this is going to make sense here in a minute. So let me work through this. Yanukovych says, listen, he's the president of Ukraine. I am not going to sign an agreement that would strengthen ties between Ukraine and the European Union. Instead, what Yanukovych wanted to do was sign a different agreement with Russia that would realign Ukraine with Russia, that would strengthen Ukraine's ties to Russia. As this is happening, something called the Maidan Revolution breaks out, in which thousands, maybe tens of thousands of protesters in Ukraine take to the streets calling for the overthrow of Yanukovych, of the Yanukovych government. This ended up actually happening. He was overthrown. He ended up stepping down as president. The revolution, the Maidan Revolution, was successful. It was effective. This did happen. Now, as we now know, this Maidan Revolution, this is intelligence that we have after the fact. The Maidan Revolution was a little bit strange. This revolution was effectively planned and coordinated, as we now know, by Barack Obama's intelligence community, with Obama's CIA paying for many of the protests on the ground during the Maidan Revolution, paid protesters. They were paid through a CIA-funded organization called the National Endowment for Democracy, which ironically enough was being used to overthrow the democratically elected leader of Ukraine at the time, Yanukovych. Ironic how that works. And so I'm sure you're asking, how does all of this relate back to James Clapper? Well, can you guess who was the director of national intelligence in 2014 as all of this was happening? Who was the senior ranking member of the United States intelligence community as the CIA was funding these protests? They were funding this agitation on the ground in Ukraine in 2014. Well, the director of national intelligence under Barack Obama in the Barack Obama administration was James Clapper. So James Clapper directly oversaw everything that happened here. And so then we can fast forward to 2016. That was 2014. Now we can fast forward to 2016. What did James Clapper directly oversee as, once again, the director of national intelligence under Barack Obama? Well, he directly oversaw and contributed to the false manufacturing of the Russia collusion narrative, in which he asserted that President Trump, who was a candidate Trump at the time, was working with the Russians. So, in just the last 25 years, James Clapper helped manufacture the fake WMD narrative that got us involved in Iraq. The entire Iraq invasion in 2003 was predicated. It was built upon this fake news narrative that Clapper manufactured in 2003 with this fake satellite imagery, the WMDs. Then in 2014, he went on to help pull off the CIA-backed coup in Ukraine. And then in 2016, he tried to pull off a coup here on U.S. soil to subvert and undermine the democratic will of the American people to destroy President Trump's first term, manufacturing this fake Russian collusion narrative. So if you want to talk about deep state, if you want to talk about anti-American traitors, if you want to talk about all of that, this is the type of behavior that we are talking about. James Clapper is pretty much one of the top guys here. So it is the reason why we're talking about this today is because it is imperative. It is super important that this guy specifically gets held accountable for everything that he has done, not just in 2016, not just in perpetuating what has happened since 2016, perpetuating the fake Russian collusion narrative, but because of what he did in 2003, manufacturing the fake WMD satellite imagery that the invasion of Iraq was built upon, and also the degree to which he helped sort of create the current crisis in Eastern Europe between Russia and Ukraine. It all has cascaded. All of this stuff has cascaded to where we are now. It all builds on itself. And why? It's because members of the deep state like Clapper, and it's not just him, it's other people as well, they want these forever wars. The second one war ends, we've got to get involved in a different one. We always have to be at war. The forever wars never have to come to an end. They have to keep on going. People like James Clapper, members of the deep state, they wanted the war in Eastern Europe. They directly instigated and provoked. They knew what they were doing. They provoked the war in Eastern Europe. They wanted the forever wars in the Middle East. Okay? Our entire involvement in the Middle East was built upon lies put together, manufactured, and distributed by this guy right here, in addition to a bunch of other deep state agents that we're going to talk about in the future. And so now you wonder, why is the deep state doing every single thing? Why have they done every single thing they can to try to stop President Trump from winning the election in 2016? To subverting and undermining his first term in the White House? To trying to oust him in 2020, which they did successfully. I regret to say it, but they did do that successfully. And then they did everything they possibly could to stop him from getting back in the White House in 2024. Thank God they failed in that regard. It's because they know President Trump is not, in lockstep. He's not on board with their never-ending foreign war agenda. President Trump does not want that. And so that's why they have done every single thing they can to stop this guy, to shut him down in and outside of the White House, still to this day. But thank God now we're finally making some progress. And so I want to show you guys something here. There's one more thing I want to show you as it relates to Mr. James Clapper, former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper. He made an appearance on CNN about 2 weeks ago now, and I want to play this with you guys. This was recorded shortly after the news broke that Tulsi Gabbard was coming for him, that they were investigating him. Take a look at this.
When the director says that she's referred these filings to the Justice Department for criminal investigation, tonight we're told they formed what is called a strike force. Do you have concerns that they will attempt to prosecute you?
Well, certainly I do. After 8.5 years of this, and I don't know of an intelligence product that was more scrutinized, more investigated than that product was by numerous people.
And so that is a lie. As we now know, he actually had, thank God. Listen, the CIA is not all bad. The FBI is not all bad. We actually have American patriots in the CIA and in the FBI. And we know that because in 2016, when they were manufacturing this report, we now know, we have the documentation. There were members, lower level staffers, members in the CIA specifically, that were saying, listen, we can't run with this. Listen, we have no proof that this is the case. We don't have an ounce of proof that Russia and Trump are colluding. This is based on nothing. And people like Clapper and Brennan and Comey, they said, who cares? Shut up. They said, shut up. They said, we're going to run with it anyway. We're going to push this narrative anyway. In the total absence of proof, shut up. And if you talk about it, you're going to lose your job. You're going to be kicked out of the government, whatever. And so now a lot of these people, they are coming forward. These genuine patriots in the CIA, in the FBI, they are coming forward. They're blowing the whistle. They're working with Tulsi Gabbard. And so thank God for that. But listen, this was, he said, this was the most scrutinized intelligence report ever. No, it wasn't. You are a bald-faced liar. A bald-faced liar.
It's very disconcerting. It really is. And I take seriously when the President of the United States accuses me of being a participant in a treasonous conspiracy, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, what's your reaction to that?
You were.
It's ridiculous. It is untrue.
So what will you do if they come after you? What is your plan?
Well, I'll lawyer up, I suppose. Already have.
You've already hired attorneys in anticipation that this Trump Justice Department could try to prosecute you.
We've had sort of perpetual attorneys since I left the government in 2017.
And that's probably smart. So he just said he's been retaining a professional legal team since 2017. Why might he be doing that? Does anybody have any ideas? Why might he have started retaining a professional legal team in 2017 specifically, of all years? That's a little bit curious. I wonder why. Now, we have a massive super chat over here. This is from Lady Laux. That's a big one. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. It says, you are the same age as my son, and he just moved his family to a safer neighborhood. Good for him. Good for him. I want that for all young families also. Here's my little bit to help. Be safe and get moved soon. Hey, listen, Lady Laux, I appreciate that a lot. Thank you very much. Is your son's name David by chance? I used to have a friend named David Laux. Hey, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I appreciate that a lot. Good luck to your son and to you, everybody. Thank you. So guys, listen, today really here with the broadcast, I really wanted to do a big comprehensive deep dive on who this guy is, where he came from, what is his history, because if you want to talk about Washington, D.C. swamp beasts, if you want to talk about the deep state, this is the type of guy that we are talking about. And finally, as you guys know, listen, this entire investigation, everything Tulsi Gabbard has found, all this evidence, the proof, it has been coalesced. It has been put together and is by Tulsi Gabbard, and it's been passed over to the DOJ. And now the DOJ is investigating this. They are actually issuing subpoenas to all of these guys, Clapper included, Brennan, Comey, Obama, all of these people, Clinton, okay, are being subpoenaed and called in to speak in front of Congress. So that's where we're going now. So if you're somebody that's saying, listen, we need to have accountability, we need justice, we cannot let this behavior go unpunished. You know, I don't want to be too optimistic too early here, but it sounds like things are moving along. That's what I'll say. So everybody hold your breath, I guess, a little bit. Not too long, but a little bit. So now, today we're going to do something a little bit crazy. This is the first time we've ever done this. Like I said, right now we are live both on YouTube and we are live on Rumble. If everybody could do me a favor and subscribe on YouTube, hit the like button, and subscribe on Rumble, hit the like button on Rumble as well. Today, we're going to do something crazy, okay? We are going to now wrap up the YouTube broadcast, and we're going to segue over to Rumble. We're going to continue the stream, the live show today, over on Rumble exclusively. So the YouTube segment is done. So thank you. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. We're going to continue on the show over on Rumble, and we're going to hang out and do some reacting to some political adjacent news, a little bit more commentary here, okay? So I want to say thank you, everybody on YouTube. We're going to wrap up the YouTube segment, and now we're going over to Rumble. So if you're dipping out on YouTube, thank you guys. Have a great evening, and I'll see you guys for another live broadcast on YouTube tomorrow. But until then, I'll see you guys on Rumble. Take care, everybody. All right, folks, if you